I just had dinner with Lewis and Linda. Lewis made a pasta asciutta. And so while I am sitting there and bored out of my mind, my mother decides to, I say something that it was a trigger word apparently. My mother starts being very conversational and she says, "Oh my gosh, that is like when we went to France. Lou, remember when we went to France?" And I said, "Yeah, Ma." I was like, "You never talked about it. I was too young and I was sick. Well, I was home alone while you and him went." I was like, she's like, "Oh, no, no." She's like, "They treated us like royalty. They flew us." She's like, the gentleman's name was Jean. And I said, "Oh," I was like, "It wasn't Pierre." And she says, "Actually, wasn't it Jean Pierre?" And I said, "Oh, imagine, Jean Pierre." I was like, "I know that." And then my father says, "Oh, we have a Jean. Wasn't it Jean Claude?" And I'm like, "No, Jean." And I was like, "No, Jean Claude is our friend up in Vermont." She's like, "But Jean Pierre is the gentleman over in France." And they flew them to some private island for a day or a night. And my mom said that the pilot was so handsome, and she was able to sit in the front seat with him. So totally American. I'm sure he could attest to that. And my mother's like, "Oh my gosh, there was a cross at the bottom," and he said that they were aiming for the cross. And my mother was like, like how? And I was like, that is Finsternas at its essence, Linda. I was like, it is totally pitch black Finsternas. There's no up, there's no down, there's no left, there's no right. There's just pitch black. And my mother was like, "Oh," and I said, my dad was doing something with the Delaware Water Authority in America. I don't know, I was like 3 or 4 or 5, I don't remember. I know I was at Aunt Judy's house in the middle of the smoke and the smog, because she smoked a lot in the house, and it was like, let's think about this. They were in France. I said, "Did you even try to speak French, Mom?" And she's like, "No." And so then she's like, they kept bringing, she's like, "We went somewhere and they gave us all," first of all, she doesn't like fish. And I said, "Poisson." And they were like, and I said, and I was like, "No fish." And I was like, "No, poisson is the word of fish in French, Mom." And she's like, "Oh." I was like, "Oddly enough, you take a letter out and then it becomes poison." I was like, "But whatever." And then she said, then my father said, "No, the company, the name was Lemaire." And I was like, "Lemaire? What did they do, Dad?" And he said they were a fertilizing company. I was like, "Funny, that's Lemaire." Because merde is shit in French, Shitmerde. But Lemaire in Latin is the water. So the water shit. Imagine. So when the water turns to shit, then they send in Lemaire to with the pulverized whatever in order to clean out the Delaware because of the coal mining business. Oops, somebody poisoned the Delaware River Gap. Oops, who knew? Let's think. Right, but that would be poison. Poisson would be cyanide for that. Oh, right, and then I'm like, my father and I had the conversation. I'm like, "Oh, so then what happened?" I said, "Are there a lot of like dark skin in the inland of France?" And I was like, "Back then, Dad, I'm just curious." I was like, or they were more island bound, right? And he's like, "Well, today," he says, "they had some kind of a revolution in the 1960s. I was like, "Ugh, the 1960s." I was like, "Yeah, I'm de Paola. I am totally appalled. I'm Paul. I'm totally appalled by your 1960s disgusting, Lewis and Linda. Merde." I always was on the way in at ET level. I said, "Don't be fooled. This is not me. This is this new shit that they're doing. Lemaire all over the place. It's not going to work out well when the Algerians wind up in your Notre Dame in the favorite city of I've never been, because whatever, on a wing and a prayer I come, but nobody's invited me of late." due to revolutionaries everywhere not listening to a thing the woman on a wing in a prayer said on the way in, but whatever. Getting the whole thing all wrong. I said, what do you expect when we live in a white world and we speak white, and then you teach these assholes to communicate via long distance, and then you give them wings and travel? What did you think was going to happen, all area shithead? Just curious. Voilà! E se c'est bon? Non, non c'è bene per lei.